All right, doing a quick video only because I just woke up and I've got my bed hair before I start brushing it down straight. So there's actually a photo of me taken in 1990 and you can see the back of my hair. Let me get it. You see how my hair is there? You can actually see it in the slight corner of the photo because I had it short on top and long at the back. But that's my natural hair, the way it is. And I'm only doing this to build up a journal to actually use as evidence to go to court against my mum's family. They're sick women. And I'm sorry, but this is like what's just been done towards me in the last 10 years is part of their sick behaviour. And you hear people go, what do they benefit from? And I'm like, they're sick. These women are sick that have actually abused men. Okay, they're absolutely sick women. Mum's sister, Mary Michalski, smashed a bottle over her husband's face. He's got a scar down at Richard Michalski. Mum's other sister, who's a deadbeat loser, Robin Childs. Robin Childs always abused men. Her boyfriends and whatever, I don't care if they admitted it or not, but she did. And what was it? What she got done for? I know I do this in the video, but I've some of it. Don't know if I should say this in the video or not, but I will. Armadale Market, she got done for possession of illicit drugs. Same time that her daughter Christy Childs, who also works for these social support working groups, was done for assault, battery and home invasion. The same time her son Shane Childs was done for growing and dealing cannabis when he lived near some place called Robert Street Shopping Village. They'll project their issues onto somebody else like me. I broke away from them years ago, and they're not a good representation to what our family is, because the representation of our family, remove Reg from it, because Pop tried to get away from his mother and his sisters when he was young, and said he won the lottery with his wife, my grandmother Lola, from a better family. So Reg Purdy, Reginald George Purdy's from Balmain Roselle. So is his father Keith Purdy, and his mother Lillian still lived a life out in Newtown. Pop said she was from Paddington, but when you twins were born, she was living in Newtown. She died in Newtown. Anyway, so basically, even Reg would say like Lola's family were better. So you've got Lola, my grandmother, and that's who I grew up with. Her mother, Mary, my great grandmother, I grew up with her, and her uncle, which is Leo Patrick Sayer, but we call him Uncle Fred, and that's who I grew up with. So pin all that aside. Now, if they don't know that my natural hair isn't dead straight, hasn't been dead straight since I lost baby hair. So, and here's one argument that they've brought up. So they're doing this mental health shit in the last 10 years, and it's another organisation that they can manipulate to scam. And as I said, they're like, well, what do they get out of this? I'm like, they get their abuse. They're abusers. They get their narcissistic, control freak nature of their toxic, abusive nature. Okay. Because here's a good example of that. I make a statement that's truthful, okay, back say in 2017, and then my mother she carries on denying whatever. Great example in 2017, I was talking about when I did modelling after school, and was in Models Quest back in 1996, and I've still got my sizing and so forth from back then, how thin I used to be. And Mum could have just stood up and said, oh yeah, that's true, he won Models Quest and did this, but they're going down this other path of weirdness that they do. Anyway, then in 2019, she pipes up and goes, oh yes, he did do this. I'm like, yeah, okay. What you should have done 2 years earlier when I'm saying statements and people are thinking that I was a person that I've never been. So I've never been involved in nature or country behaviour just because I rode horses. You could have just stood up and said, well, actually, Justin's never changed. He's always been involved in art, theatre, modelling, fashion, and so forth. So the information you've got, if Gavin doesn't relate to him. Anyway, she didn't do that 2 years later. It's these manipulating games that they play. And they also play, child molestation games as well. They'll make up stories that someone's a child molester who isn't. They did this to Cole Stevenson. And I'll keep this as a record. They actually said, like, Mum said stuff about Cole Stevenson and his son, Jack Stevenson, I think his name was. I don't know these people. These are people that my mum moved from Sydney and lives around. I barely lived there. So where my mum lives, I wasn't there long. I couldn't be bothered. So I'm not really close to him. So I moved back home to Sydney. Because my dad is her first husband. So, grew up with my parents, and then Dad divorced Mum, and then I was with my grandparents all the time. I wasn't really going to entertain the fact that my mother was carrying like a nut job with her second husband. So I just came back home to Sydney. So I go, I'm not, this is just weird. I found it weird. Anyway. She said the same thing about Mr. Weatherall, that what she said about Cole Stevenson. She said the same thing about Alan Tung's brother, Paul Tung. She said the same thing about, like, it's just like, oh, God, guys, give it a rest. Then she said about some friend, Evan. And it's like, okay, give it a rest. Because you've just brought up something when I pranked a guy back in 2016. Oh, like, I'm not a fool. Like, they were dragging me into stuff. I'm like, look at the timeline. I literally had some horse people ring me and go, oh, I remember you when you were 7. I'm like, did you? You did? Because I was living at Rudy Hill when I was 7. I think my 7th birthday party, I wore my Zorro outfit. So how'd you know me? Because we didn't meet till I was 11. Like, literally. So I'm like, so what scams are going on this time with country people? I've heard them all. Because you guys are born and raised in this area, and your parents are born and raised in this area, and your grandparents are born and raised in this area. So you've got no evolution. You haven't evolved. You've stuck back to the way this area was 200 years ago. Because that's where you're from. Where my mum's born in Darlinghurst, and dad's, and started life out in Rozelle, and dad's from Parramatta. They moved to the suburbs in 1962, but nevertheless, mum's still born in Darlinghurst and started part of her life out. You're right, in Rozelle. Good boy, Buffett. Yes, you use your pad. You use good boy. You used your pad. He's got his little dog pad. He gets excited when he uses it. Yeah. So I've been dragged into all this rubbish for years. It's like, okay, so I'll keep these little things short. And then someone else were like, oh, bringing up my hair. He curls his hair because he was molested or some shit. It's like, man, my hair has been exactly the same since I was a little kid. And if you look at Dad, Mark, and Fleming, we've got similar hair, which is, that's my dad. Like, why wouldn't I have the DNA? Like, they're weird. It's like, well, I'm going to share DNA from my dad's side, the Fleming side, you idiots. What do you think? It's 100% from your mum's side? Oh, they're freaking losers. Come on, you. And Dad's father has dark, like, I've been going around in circles, because Dad's father had dark on his skin. So when I had dark, like, before I got really sick, and I ended up getting low iron deficiency. I had to have an iron infusion. Anyway. So, yeah. And it was getting pale, but I've always been dark. Like, darker than my sister. So, all you have to do is look at photos, and there's actually a photo, so it's bed hair when I get up, and that's how it actually is. I've got to brush it down straight. But there's actually a photo of me. I can get it now, actually. And you'll see I've got it short on top, because it's long on the back, and the way it's curly there, it's naturally, you'll see that in the photo. But I'm just making note of this, because this is some of the stuff that was brought up, because idiots was spying in my apartment in 2017, so I played a prank. And then there's been this thing to do with mum, like whether it's mum, whether it's a deadbeat sister. So here we go. The only time I'd ever had dead straight hair that's also blonde, that's me as a toddler. Yeah, that is me as a toddler. That's my mum, Carol. That's myself. That's my twin sister. Yeah, but you can see there when I lost my toddler hair, the black hair was coming through. And that's not unusual. This is like insane stuff that the idiots are making up. Okay, it's not here. Hang on, Blacks. I'll see in the other photo album. All right. Doesn't matter. Look, I've already got the photos up there, but I've already gone through in previous videos. Yes, Blackstar. And I've already showed this in previous videos. And we're going around in circles. Like, it was literally, oh, he kills his hair. And it probably, I don't know which side of the family it came from. Oh, one of it came from Mum's deadbeat second husband's family. Oh, look, I can say now, my grandparents died miserable because of my mother. Ever since she got with her second husband, Mark Rackley, we've had trouble. It's been trouble ever since. And that's where basically the divide went in my family. Like I said, I wasn't going to entertain my mother moving from Sydney with her second husband. I came back to Sydney. And you've got all these idiots going, oh, we could just make him, reconnect. It's like this. You guys broke the law. Do you want to be sued? Because you're going to be sued for the last 10 years of damages as it is. My dog's wanting my attention. as it is. You're up for those damages. There's no, oh, but you know, the trauma. There's no trauma. Okay, I'm born and raised in Sydney. I had an experience of going to high school in a different area, so I took it. Simple fact. We're not born there. We're not raised there. We're not from the area. And my mother went there with her second husband. And as far as I'm concerned, these people and these idiots and the way they've just behaved in the last 10 years, that warrants, you know, to say you're a dickhead. Even people from my high school, there was stuff they're going, oh, did you have friends at high school? I'm like, I did have friends at high school. I did, but I didn't even live in the area. But when I first met those people from my high school, I had only been in the area of what? Christ, a year and a half? Like, I wasn't from there. Like, I wasn't born there, wasn't raised there. And so, you know, when you got people that are born and raised in the area and they're born and raised, so it's like, yeah, and it's not an area like Sydney where it's different. It's like it was very backwards. Like, because their families and so forth. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but there was nothing in common. So I'm going to leave it there because I'm going to waste time doing these videos. These are just to keep as records. It's let me write in the journal, but you can see, so that is my hair. Oh, Mum made up a story. Oh, he perms it. Oh, he curls it. And what scam was she up to this time? Oh, because it was, he's trying to be like Faith. I'm like, so when I was 10, before Faith was born, I was trying to be like Faith then. Like, you're not making sense. Like, when you look at actual photos. She just makes up these stories. Look, she did this to Dad's younger daughter. So we're at the Jesters. We're having dinner. So Dad was really nice. I travelled up from Sydney to go and visit my twin sister. Had to bite his tongue, the poor man, to put up with his first wife, my deadbeat mother. We're sitting there, and so he's brought our younger sister up, Sky, and Sky's got thick hair. Like, Sky's got the Fleming hair. Like, she had baby hair like me when she was born. You can see that in the photo in 1996. She had the blonde, very fine, dead straight baby hair. But once she lost her baby hair, she had this massive big mullet of Fleming hair. Thick, black, like curly hair, which is what the Flemings have. And she's sitting there having dinner, and Carol. Which boyfriend was I with? I think it might have been Gio, actually. I'll have to ask which one of them they remember. We're sitting there having dinner, and she goes, where do you get your curly hair from? This is what Mum did straight out to Sky. She goes, and Sky looked at my mother and said, my dad. Because Dad has got wave hair. And then my mother turns to my sister and goes, no, you didn't. Like this, like, real fucking jealous bitch. No, you didn't. Sky's there going, yes, my aunties all have curly hair. Dad's like, and yeah, both Dad's parents have curly hair. Stanley and Ruby had curly hair. And Sky's sitting there, like, looking at me because it's my mother. I'm like, don't worry about it. Like, she's a nut job, Sky. She's got issues. Like, my mum, Carol's got issues. I'm sorry that you had to just go through that. So my deadbeat mother is abusing my dad, her first husband's daughter, from his second. Sitting there over her hair. And what she answered back was true. It's like, her hair is exactly the Flemings. And Mum said, no, like, she's got this jealous attitude. So all these people that actually know my mother or come from the area where my mother lives broke the law in the last 10 years. I'm not going to back down where they're going to be charged. I said this. I don't care if you knew me in your high school. What are you doing getting involved? If you're going to be in my life, I would have contacted you. The fact that you live near or around or know my mother means you'll be charged. Simple fact. You don't get involved, you don't know the family heritage and history and background, and you don't know conflicts of interest or any family feuds. We're going back stuff over 46 years. We're not a close family. My mother's family manipulated organisations as a tool, and those organisations are liable for negligence and damages over 10 years to date.